What's up, guys? Welcome to Deep Dives, where we dive deep into issues of theology and culture. My name is Gavin. I'm a pastor here at New Springs Church in Coral Springs, Florida. And today we're going to be talking about what's love got to do with it. One of my favorite movie franchises is Toy Story. It's one of the most successful franchises that Disney has. It kind of kicked off Pixar, which is, very, very wealthy and prominent movie production company now. And one of the things that I love about Toy Story is it kind of spans a lifetime, right? I was a kid who played with toys when it first came out, and now I'm a father who has children who play with toys, and the movies very much follow that progression, right? The first movie coming out in like 1994 or 95, whatever it was, and the last movie coming out just a couple of years ago. And it's something that I watch with my kids all the time, all four movies. And what I really appreciate about the last one, the fourth movie, is this character Woody. He takes on kind of this father figure approach with the new toy Forky. And you see where there's an element of Woody wanting to care for Bonnie, his child owner, and making sure she's happy and enjoying her first days of kindergarten. And I think about how I approach that with my kids as well. But one of the things that stands out to me is the lessons that Woody tries to teach Forky about being a toy. And there's very much a list of rules and responsibilities that Woody believes every toy should have. And the rules and responsibilities that Woody discusses with Forky very much have to do with where his affections lie. Who does he love? What's love got to do with it? See, in Woody's economy of life, he believes that because he loves his owner and his owner loves him, his entire life should be lived in devotion to that owner. That he should be considerate of the owner's wishes. He should be thinking about how to make the owner happy, and he should conduct his entire life in such a way that it's pleasing to first Andy and then later on to Bonnie. I think we can learn a lot of lessons about that. See, really where our hearts are, where our affections lie, dictate how we behave on a day-to-day basis. And usually it's inconsequential. It's just, this is how we do things. We're not really thinking deeply about how to behave, the choices we make, the opinions that we hold. But most of that comes from where the seat of our affections are. And I really just want to talk about two primary categories that we tend to do this with. One is relationships, and the other is our jobs or our careers. So let's start with relationships. I think that we as human beings, we all have this deep need to love other people and be loved in return by them. And so the most natural expression of that is to seek that out in relationships. And I'm keeping it broad because by relationship, that can mean a deep-seated friendship, somebody you hang out with all the time, you can tell jokes with, you can kind of bare your soul to, and just have this close bond and connection. That could be a dating relationship, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, somebody that you also spend a lot of time with, but there's romantic involvement as well. And of course, the highest of those being the relationship of marriage, right? A husband and wife in a covenant before God and the state to love each other till death do them part. And I think there's a mistake that we make in trying to find the right relationship that will fulfill the love that I desire to both give and receive. Here's a couple reasons why I think it's faulty to approach relationships in that way. One, it sets you up for this never-ending work to please another person. So if I start off with the Jerry Maguire kind of perspective that there's a person who completes me, or the Notebook kind of perspective where there's a soulmate out there we're just supposed to fit together so well that our lives will be good and I will find the love and fulfillment that I'm looking for. what ends up happening is you set yourself up for this never-ending quest to please that person. You're always trying to do things to make them happy because their happiness is gospel for you. If they're upset with you, it's detrimental to your entire psyche, your entire disposition for the day, for the week, for the month, for years. And so you're doing everything you can to please that person. I think we know that in reality, it's kind of impossible to please somebody else all the time. That's a hamster on a wheel, right? You're just running, doing cardio, and you're never actually going to arrive at that goal that's impossible to achieve. I think that leads us into the second reason that pursuing relationships to fulfill some ultimate love need that I have is also not a great idea, because that leads to detriment, to disappointment, to depression. Here's what I mean. If I've set up another person as being the one who can fulfill and satisfy my desires for love, their rejection is tantamount to rejection of me completely as a person. See, if I believe that your love and affection is what I need to live a complete life, then your rejection is going to be ultimately devastating. I think we see that statistically, where some of the leading causes of depression that are not necessarily mental health related, but in terms of psyche, disposition, just being sad at my circumstances, a lot of those are related to relationships. There's a breakup, there's a divorce, there's you've pursued someone, gone to ask somebody out on a date and they don't want anything to do with you, or there's cheating. There's a relationship that's already established and one person decides that they're going to step out with someone else. These things are emotionally devastating, as they should be, but they should never be ultimately crushing. And I think they only become ultimately crushing when we've set up another individual, another human being, to be our be-all and end-all in love and relationships. They simply can't bear that weight, which brings me to the third point, which is that no human being can actually fulfill the responsibility of being loved completely by another person and reciprocating that love in return. Why is that? I think we're inherently selfish. We don't really like to admit that, but that's the reality. We're looking for things that make our lives better. And as much as we like to present ourselves as humble and benevolent, that I'm gonna serve this other person for all the days of my life, that's usually not true. Usually the case is we're looking for some love and affection for ourselves. We're looking for someone to make us feel good. And if that doesn't happen, we're very willing to move on. We're selfish people. And so in the very moments where you're calling for your spouse, where you're calling for your girlfriend, where you're calling for your best friend to show love and empathy for a situation you're going through, they might be completely wrapped up in their own mind about something else that's going on in their lives. Full transparency, I'm married. That happens all the time. Me and my wife will have these cross signals of she's going through something and my head is elsewhere thinking about something else, and I can't meet the proper amount of love and empathy and affection in that moment. It's my fault. That's bad. But at the same time, when we look at relationships to provide that always and all the time, you're going to set that up for disappointment. And thanks be to God, my wife has a God that she loves more than me, who can satisfy those affections and those longings when I'm lacking and not able to live up to that standard. I think the second area where we do this in is our careers. We live in the United States of America, where we're all about production, right? And now you add to that social media, and the appearance of productivity is what sells, right? You got to be able to post that you are a mom that's killing it, right? And the new ethic now is not that you need to be a mom that's killing it, but you've got to be a mom that's not killing it, right? A mom that's making mistakes, but you're so funny and winsome and carefree about it that you can post laughter like when things are not going well. I'll tell you what's definitely not cool is being down, being sad, being upset, and posting things like that on the internet. Nobody's following you or liking you for things of that nature. And so because we live in such a culture, we're always chasing satisfaction from other people. We want to appear to be successful. I think that's a fool's errand as well. Because as we chase success, you'll notice that the carrot keeps moving further and further down the line, right? Or to use another metaphor, the goalposts keep moving back. We can never hit a consistent target. And so as I'm aiming at one thing, it's possible that I get there, I achieve it, I get the job that I want, and I believe that that job is going to satisfy. Yet it's run by a boss who doesn't care a whole lot about me. I've got coworkers that I'm not crazy about. I've got to work these long hours on days where I really don't feel like working at all. Or maybe it's I finally got the job where I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I'm in control over my own hours. And now boredom sets in, or this feeling of lack of productivity of, hey, I create my own hours, but am I using them as well as I possibly could? Or maybe you're successful in all those things and now you become bored of the success and try to meet a new challenge. It just never ends. We keep moving the goalposts, the carrot goes further and further, and we find ourselves unhappy. It's because jobs weren't meant to ultimately satisfy in that way. And so if my ultimate affection is I'm looking for love, complete love, satisfying love to satisfy my soul from another person, I'm breaking bad news to you, but that's doomed to fail. The same is true for your career. If I'm looking for ultimate love and affection out of my career, it's doomed to fail. Now, where I think our hearts need to be aligned is the Bible presents Jesus Christ as being the one where our ultimate affections should go. I've heard objections plenty times as a pastor where people wonder, why is it that God demands worship all the time? Why is he constantly imploring his people to reciprocate love to him? Is he needy? What's the deal here? Why is he always asking for that? I think the heart of God is that in knowing that the people he's created, we need him. And we need him not in a paternalistic, abusive sense of like, hey, you need me and I love feeling needed, but it's actually wired into our DNA. You and I were created in the image of God. That means we represent him to the rest of creation, to the rest of the world. And so these deep longings that we have for relationship are actually only satisfied in him. Because at the very foundation of a relationship, number one is the desire to be known fully. Well, in most relationships we conduct, we put on masks. I don't want you to know me fully because I'm embarrassed about certain parts and aspects of myself. I don't want you to know me fully because I only want you to know the good side that I think is going to make you happy and make you treat me well. And so I hide behind a mask, and we all do this. In a relationship with God, there is no mask. You can't fool him. You can't hide the parts of yourself that you feel embarrassed about. You can't put on enough of a front to deceive God into thinking that you're better than you actually are. He already knows. And the flip side of that is the reason why we put on a mask is we're afraid of some kind of rejection. I don't want you to know the embarrassing parts of me and then tell me that I'm unlovable. I don't want you to see the real me and decide to choose somebody else because I don't meet your standards. But the Bible's very clear that Jesus Christ sees the depths of who we are. All of the past mistakes we've made, the current deficiencies that we have, the incompetencies that we wish we were better at. He sees all of that and doesn't say, there's some future version of you that I wish existed, but I'll tolerate you for now. Rather, Jesus Christ sees you as you are now and loves you completely, totally, and fully. He calls you a son, calls you a daughter. You're an heir to the kingdom. You get all the riches and splendor of heaven and deep relationship with God simply by trusting in him and having completed nothing that he's asked you to do. I don't know where else you can find love and affection like that. And on a very practical level, when I've failed to meet the proper empathy from my wife, when I've failed to be present and available for my kids when I think they need me, Or when those things happen in reverse, when I'm looking for love and affection and I'm not getting it, or I want something in return and it doesn't happen, it's my relationship to God that I turn to consistently. To read these love words that he has for me throughout scripture, to know that I am totally loved, to know that I'm a son of God, to know that I'm forgiven, that I'm redeemed, that I'm accepted, and that I'm not just this pet case of affection, but actually God's even trusted me with a mission. That God would take someone like me and hand me a Bible and say, proclaim it to the people and lead them and shepherd them. It's truly amazing to be loved and appreciated to that level in spite of my flaws. And so my encouragement to each and every one of you is that as your heart is pulled and tugged somewhere, it's natural. We're all going to do that. We're going to gravitate towards things that we love and think are going to bring us happiness. Do that, but do that with a measure of reality. If you're single, go out on dates, have friendships. If you're married, press into loving your spouse, but never believe that any of these relationships are going to fully and totally satisfy you. You need God at the center of it. By all means, work hard at your career. Be assertive. Be productive. Try to move to the next level. Set goals and work hard to achieve them. But please don't believe that in achieving those goals, you'll find satisfying lifelong fulfillment. It won't end up that way. And so please put God at the center of all of your pursuits so that if things don't go your way, you're fully satisfied in him anyway. And when things do go your way, you're humble enough to recognize that it's the blessing of God who's leading you to great things. So my hope for each of us is that our ultimate love and affection would be in Jesus Christ, because he's the only one who can do it totally and completely. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys will join us again for the next video. Take care.